I want to now take you to page 3, the marks of injury, and take you down the list of injuries. I won't go through every one, but I'll try and give you a general picture of what we're seeing here. Look at number 1 and number 2, very important. The back of right auricula was stapled with a metal staple. Auricula is the earlobe area. Okay. 2 puncture wounds were noted after removing the staple. Number 2 is the front of left lobule was stapled. So we are talking about the right ear and the left ear. And the pathologist clearly says he removed the staple. This confirms what we had told you verbally earlier, that indeed Dharmendran's body was found, handed over by the police, with staples embedded in both ears and bleeding from the ear. The presence of the staples, I don't think I need to elaborate, obviously a form of torture that was inflicted by upon Dharmendran by police personnel as he was in police custody. Now, if you look at number 4 and number 5, marks of injury, 2 bruises on right upper quadrant of abdomen, bruise on lower left upper quadrant of abdomen. So there were beating marks on the abdomen area. You look at number 6, please. Bruise measuring so and so on anterolateral aspect of left subcostal area. Now the subcostal area is the area just below the kidney. Yeah. So it is saying upper left quadrant of the abdomen and also the line here, the kidney area. This is the subcostal region. Now, other bruises there. 7. Patent bruise resembling an incomplete digital number 8 on the left iliac fossa. Now, the iliac fossa is here, is the hip bone. So he's been beaten here, here, and here also, bruises here. The iliac fossa is the hip bone. Eight, you can see there's a wound on the bruise on the loin. 9, bruise measuring 15 times 5 centimeters on the peri-umbilical area. Now the peri-umbilical area is the area around the navel. And I just want to draw your attention, the bruises are quite big. Okay, you have to picture in your mind, these are not small spots, and it's consistent with what we saw when we saw the body also. Huge patches of bruises, so the beating would have been quite heavy for the bruises to be quite large. Number 10, bruise measuring so and so on lateral aspect of right inguinal region. Now the inguinal region, if we are talking about the groin and the lower abdomen area. Okay, so as I am speaking, I think you can see we are practically dealing with every inch of the body. Now 11, we are talking about the shoulder. 12, again shoulder. The shoulder area was badly beaten, which seems to indicate that maybe he was on his knees or on the floor and the beating came from above. Because later you will also see in the report the shoulder and the abdomen, the thorax area was badly bruised from beatings. Now 13, you can see multiple overlapping bruises with thick hematoma formation on back of thorax. Bruises were associated with the following abrasions, etc. Now this one we saw on the day when we saw the body. The entire chest area was blackened from beatings. Okay, which we could see from the lay person's eyes also. Now the thorax region is from the neck down to the diaphragm area. This is the thorax region. So he's saying this entire thorax region is full of multiple overlapping bruises, thick hematoma being clots, hematomas being clots all over the chest area. So we do not know how the beating was done, but it's the entire area. Okay, this is very important and interesting. If you look at 14, 15, 16 and 17, I'll take it together. Now, in fact, this is horrific. A group of 3 double tramline abraded bruises over the lumbar vertebra. 15, a group of 4 double tramline abraded braces on lateral aspect of right posterior iliac crest. 16, oblique double tramline bruise on iliac crest. 17, double tramline bruises posterior iliac crest. Okay, what are these group of 4 marks? I had a word with the doctor at that time. We can only speculate, but we saw the marks. Okay. Now, when you talk about double tramline braided bruises arranged in a parallel oblique pattern, these are marks that look like rotan marks. You know, that's why you call them double braided bruises tramline. Now, the doctor says that they were arranged in a parallel oblique pattern. Okay, oblique means slanting. Okay, it's not longitudinal or vertical or horizontal. It's slanting. Okay, so what the doctor is describing when he says oblique tramline braided bruises, he's talking about two parallel bruises like that in a line. You know, two parallel bruises in a line like that. So that seems to suggest rotan marks. Okay, that seems to suggest rotan marks, or they have made that mark with something similar to a stick or a rotan or something. So that is from 14 to 17. Okay. 18, bruise measuring on the right gluteal region. Now, the gluteal region is the buttock region. 19, groin again. 20, you see again gluteal region. 21, gluteal region. So you can see a few. They have also beaten him on the buttock area. Maybe with the implement, maybe with what, I do not know. Okay. 24, bruise above the axilla. The axilla is the underarm area, the ketiak area. So he's also been beaten under the underarm area. Now then, as we run along, we see more tramline bruises, double tramline bruises, which suggest some kind of thing, rotan, I don't know, stick, pipe. We do not know what was used. Okay, this is important. Look at 32. An oblique double tramline abrasion consistent with handcuff mark. Okay, so he was not only handcuffed, but he seems to have struggled in the handcuffs, leading to abrasions. There will be more of that later. 33, you can see multiple bruises on the thigh, right thigh area. Now this we saw, when we saw the body, you'll see the information here about the thighs being beaten. When we saw the body that day, the father-in-law was there. The entire thigh area was black with bruises. To our eyes, it looked like one long square patch of what you call hematoma or bruising. Okay, it doesn't appear singly. Whole patches here, the whole back, the whole shoulder, the legs. You know, so we're talking about repeated beatings that caused it. So you can see a bit here. This is like, if you see here, you can see the discoloration. It's a bit difficult for you to see from that distance, but you can see an entire patch on the front of the thigh. Entire patch at the front of the thigh. This is
vertically the same.
This is Dharmendran's thighs.
Hey.
Let's see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay? Got it? Okay. Alright, so this is the visual representation of what you are seeing on the dry report of the doctor. You can see visually what it looks like. It's very painful for the family, but we have got to go through this process. go on now. You can see the bruises on the right knee, 35, 36, on the right lower leg. Now 37, 38, 46, 47. 37, you see, pattern injury in the form of 2 puncture wounds, each on the front of middle third of right lower leg. Distance between the 2 puncture wounds is 1 cm. 38, another puncture wound, right, left, middle third of right lower leg. That one was middle third of right, in front of the right lower leg. Now again, if you jump to 46, puncture wound, third of left lower leg. 47, pattern injury in form of 2 puncture wounds on anterior medial part of the left lower leg. Now, what are these 4 items? These puncture wounds. These puncture wounds, we believe, and that is what the pathologists also thought, are again stapler wounds in the leg area. Again, stapler wounds on the leg area, consistent with stapler wounds. But when the body was given to the hospital, the staplers were no longer there, just the wounds only. Whereas the ears, the staplers were still inside the ear. Okay, the doctor has removed it and sent it for analysis. But the legs, just the 2 puncture wounds. Okay, so this indicates that they were using a stapler torture on him, not just on the ears, but throughout the body. They take the stapler, they staple him. Take the stapler, they staple him. Take the stapler, they staple him. That is happening in the police department. Yeah? Now, I'll just quickly run through the rest. You can see just more detail, more and more body parts. Right lower leg, 40, right foot, left thigh, 42, left knee, 43, left knee, 44, leg, 45, leg, 46, another puncture wound. They seem to have been indiscriminately using the stapler on him. Staple, staple, staple. Now, would you look at now 51? Okay, 51 is a new thing. Hematoma measuring so and so on left half of the face. Okay, which means there was a big clot found in the left half of the face, which means he has suffered some kind of a heavy blow on the face. Maybe he was punched or beaten with an object on the left part of the face. Now, then if you go below, that was the external marks of injury. If you go below the internal examination, immediately you see head. Okay, this is important. Head, you see, scalp. The following injuries were noted on the scalp area. Subgaleal hematoma on the left frontotemporal region, subgaleal hematoma on the left occipital region. Now, if I may just, that means he was beaten on the head, probably with an object, a blunt object. Okay? Now, hematoma, as you know, is a clot. And left frontotemporal region, there's 2 beating marks on the head. Frontotemporal region is the front part of the skull. This is the temporal part of the body. You can see this is the frontotemporal region. It means they've beaten him on the head with something. The second one, you see Roman 2, left occipital region, hematoma, scalp hematoma. Occipital is towards the back. Okay, that means he's been beaten on the front, he's been beaten at the back. That seems to suggest perhaps 2 persons, or perhaps the same person whacking from front and back, I do not know. But again, it seems to suggest he was in a lower position from the person or persons who were doing the beating. Okay, that explains the head injuries, that explains the very bad bruising and beating all over the shoulder and thorax region. If you turn the page to page number 6, you see meninges up there. A circular subarachnoid hemorrhage over the left parietal eminence. Now, meninges is a membrane layer beneath the skull, between the brain and the skull. So there is even a hemorrhage there. That means the blow to the head would have been quite hard for there to be hemorrhage inside the meninges or the membrane between the skull and the brain. Now, okay, now let me now just go straight to a few conclusions and comments I want to make. Firstly, it's quite clear from this post-mortem examination that during his beating and torture, Dharmendran was handcuffed. He was handcuffed. And he seemed to be in a lower position, maybe kneeling or sitting on the floor, I do not know. The reason I say that, as you saw the injury number 28 just now, injury number 28, where it said abraded double tramline bruise, measuring so and so, consistent with handcuff mark. This wound was associated with subcutaneous hemorrhage on the left wrist and the back wrist. That means the handcuffing was where, that means it is possible that, you know, he would have he was being beaten and handcuffed in that manner, causing serious abrasions and injuries to the wrist area. The fact that we believe that he was beaten while handcuffed and unable to defend himself, if you look at the summary and conclusions in the last page, page 9, last page, page 9, if I may take you there. Summary and conclusions, page 9. Number 9, no defensive wound was identified on the body of the deceased, which means he was unable to defend himself. So very likely he was handcuffed, he was kneeling or on the floor, and they beat and tortured him. In short, he was not even able to defend himself in any way. Okay? So he would have been probably handcuffed from behind. He would have been sitting like that or kneeling while the blows came from the top. He would not have been able to protect himself in any way. He was just an object there to be tortured at will.